Welcome. I am Day. We all experience loss on so many levels. Over the past few years, I have personally experienced the loss of loved family members, beloved family members. Some of these family members were elderly or ill. Some were children under the age of 18. Grief sits within. Let's walk together as we grieve one day at a time on this weekly blog, or should I say podcast, that will be posted each Sunday at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Fair use. Grief one day at a time. 365 meditations to help you heal after loss by Alan D. Wolfelt, PhD. January 8. Everything is falling together perfectly, even though it looks as if some things are falling apart. Trust in the process you are now experiencing. Neil Donald Walsh. Grief is a long, winding road. It is a process, not a moment in time. And when we are in the middle of the journey, it can seem like we are not making any progress. In fact, it can feel like things are falling more and more apart. In grief, things often do get worse before they get better. When it feels like everything is falling apart, we must remind ourselves that actually everything is as it should be, as long as we are doing the work of encountering and expressing our grief. We can trust that everything is falling together perfectly. It may not seem like it at any given moment, but all is well. We can trust in the process we are experiencing. Today, I will allow my grief to become mourning. And no matter what happens, I will trust that the journey is leading me toward healing. We'll take a breath and breathe. January 9, fair use. I like these cold gray winter days. Days like these let you savor a bad mood. Bill Watterson. We must admit that most of us enjoy a bad mood now and then. It is satisfying to grump and complain, to close ourselves up, even to slam the occasional door. I think we get some satisfaction out of bad moods because we recognize that they're necessary. In fact, they're not really bad moods at all. They're just a different flavor of mood. Feelings are never good or bad. They just are. We could never revel in our loss. We would undo it if we could. But since we can't, we can indulge our bad moods whenever we feel like it. We can withdraw and grouse and have a good cry. We can feel sorry for ourselves and throw a self-pity party. Because when we do these things, we're simply acknowledging our reality and embracing our pain. Both tasks we have to undertake on the road to healing. When I'm in a bad mood, I'll wallow in it. if I feel like it. Fair use, January 10. Pain is the doorway to wisdom and to truth. Keith Miller. The word January comes from the Roman god of doorways. Janus, after the Etruscan word Janua, which means door. He had charge of the gates of heaven as well as all doorways and gates, physical and metaphorical. He often depicted as having two faces, one looking forward and one looking backward. Our grief is like that. We look back at the past we shared with the people who died, and we look forward at a future without them. Like Janus, we are standing in the doorway, but this doorway of our grief is not a comfortable place to be. We're betwixt and between, in what is called liminal space. Limina is the Latin word for threshold and is related to the concept of limbo. We don't like being in this limbo doorway. We would rather go backward to the things, we would rather go backward to the way things were as fast or fast forward to some future time in which we're feeling settled again. But here's the thing. It is only in the doorway of liminal space that we can reconstruct our shattered world views and reemerge as transformed, whole people who are ready to live fully again. I don't like this doorway of grief, but I'm learning to respect it. Fair use, January 11. It is our idleness in our dreams that the submerged truth sometimes come to the top. Virginia Woolf. When the lethargy of grief overtakes us, we can feel as if we are moving through mud. Everything takes too much effort. We are tired physically, cognitively, emotionally, socially, and spiritually. This is normal and necessary, but sometimes we rebuke ourselves or feel guilty for being so lazy. Instead, we should flip the rebuke over and see that sometimes it is our very idleness that allows progress in our healing. The lethargy of grief nurtures our need to slow down, turn inward, and bask in being in neutral. Times of not doing and simply being can allow us to discover new insights and experience breakthroughs. In our stillness, the truth may rise to the top. Today, I will revel in any idleness I may find myself experiencing. I may even set aside time for idleness. January 12. Fair use. Hard times arouse an instinctive desire for authenticity. Coco Chanel. Grief has a way of cutting to the chase. Pretenses fall away. We find that we want nothing to do with phoniness. We don't have the energy for fakery, and besides, it suddenly seems so pointless, even distasteful. Our newfound or intensified instinct for authenticity is born of our grief. We've lost someone who gave our life meaning. That loss has made us keenly aware of what is meaningful to us and what is not. It's like turning on a black light in an otherwise dark room. Certain things become obvious that we couldn't see clearly before. The good news is that we can use this time of grieving to jettison habits, belongings, and even people we now realize do not resonate within our inner truth. If something seems ungenuine, or we simply don't care about it anymore, out it goes. This winnowing process is valuable and has the power to make the rest of our lives richer and more meaningful. I am going to pay attention to what really matters to me. Everything else I will let fall by the wayside. Let's take a moment to breathe. Breathing in love, breathing out fear. Fair use, January 13. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Oscar Wilde. We are all mourners, but no two of us are traveling the exact same grief journey. Our grief is unique, shaped by our one-of-a-kind histories, personalities, relationships with the people who died, spiritual or religious backgrounds, circumstances of the death, support systems, and other factors. We'll grieve as only we would grieve, and we need to mourn in ways that work for us. When others tell us we must do this or that, we have the right to ignore them. I'll be myself in grief, and you be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. I'll be myself in grief. My gut instincts will tell me what's right for me and what's not. Fair use, January 14. What's past is a prologue. William Shakespeare. Leave it to Shakespeare to capture such a profound life lesson in just 4 words. Often we grievers are encouraged to just move on. We are told, let go, get past it, and put the past in the past. Our culture has been contaminated by insidious misconception that emotional spiritual pain is bad and that we should simply forget any past experiences that are now causing us pain. hogwash. Our pasts are the prologues to our future. First of all, we can't forget. Our brains aren't wired that way. And second, we shouldn't want to forget. Our memories house our very existence. They inform and give context to who we are today. Memories of past relationships, especially, are our most meaningful treasures. Yes, today is the first day of the rest of your life, and you do have the power to create the future you desire. But your past will always be a significant part of who you are tomorrow. I will remember you. You are an important part of who I am today and will remain an important part of me in every tomorrow. I think of my beloved ones as I read this. And I thank you for walking this grief journey with me. We've just read Grief One Day at a Time for the week of January 7 through 14, read by me, Day, DAA. Those are my initials, of DHB Recovery Network. Please share and subscribe. And most of all, be the you that you are created to be.